emergency borrowing at records, and reserves, they're at multi-year lows. So that right there, that's a liquidity crisis.
About to see this latest repo crisis ties all the way back to JP Morgan.
This is the moment the Fed loses control.
The fire! JP Morgan Chase just triggered the next liquidity crisis, which was like the last liquidity crisis, which if you're currently living on planet Earth, it's all crisis. This is all it is. Even though the politician will tell you everything's great, just draw a black line through it. This is Michigan survey, current conditions in America as the worst in 47 years. And my buddy Mark Moss just did a video. The Fed just triggered the next liquidity crisis. And it's kind of like, which came first, the chicken or the egg? It was the chicken. But there is a couple things that people get wrong. Also, can you hit this? Look at that. Hit that little like right there. I'm already subscribed. Congratulations to Mark. Almost 800, but let's listen in.
The Fed just triggered a liquidity crisis, and I can prove it in just 3 charts. But this isn't just about repo markets or bank reserves. This is the moment the Fed loses control, and they...
Well, the truth is, Mark, the Fed is not in control. Also, what people always get wrong is they believe the Fed, especially when they say things like that they print money. But let's listen.
Now, Ben Bernanke said it explicitly in 2002, quote, "The U.S. government has a printing press that allows it to produce as many dollars as it wishes at essentially no cost," end quote. That's the Fed's nightmare.
But the truth is, that's not the Fed's nightmare. You want to know what the Fed's nightmare is? It's Jamie Dimon, because he's actually the one in charge of everything. Also, I know you're like, no, the Fed prints and causes inflation, and no, they don't. Let's go back to the first rule of money. What is money? It is debt, Mr. Bravo. Where does that money come from? It comes from loans, Mr. Bravo. That is 98% of money. It's debt-based loans that happen in the banking system, so the banks control everything. You can't say that because they even went on CNN, CNBC, and they said they printed. Even on 60 Minutes, he lied. And I'm going to try to grab this clip, and hopefully 60 Minutes won't snag it. It's going to be quick.
Central bank, we have the ability to create money.
Hopefully I was able to keep that clip in, but... This is all the Fed does, okay? They have a balance sheet. They create reserve, just nothing. They call them reserves. They're actually, it's a reserve liability. There's nothing. And then it ends up being a bank asset that the banks use. And all this gets stuck in the system and it can't leave. So I guess if you want to call that essentially printing money, okay. But now let's go back to the beginning. It's like chicken or egg. Okay, God created the chicken. If you don't believe that, you can just talk to him later. But the Treasury, Big Bang Theory, first thing they do is create a bond. And Jamie Dimon here, this is Moynihan's, buys that with your money. That's where it starts. And they give your money back to the government. And then they spend it on social programs and military and all the things you probably wouldn't vote for. But here is where JP Morgan Chase controls everything. The Fed wasn't going to cut. Well, until Jamie Dimon says to. What the Fed could do is they could say, hey, Jamie, you're not allowed to come to the bond auction. So that would completely collapse the whole system. So that's probably not going to happen. But anyways, JP Morgan withdraws $350 billion from Federal Reserve ahead of rate cuts. They did this because they knew they would. The amount of money that these guys can make on this arbitrage stuff, it's kind of like, I don't know, the carry trade. You take out a loan at negative or zero, and you're like, yeah, I'll go buy a T-bill with it. That's great. But America's largest bank, JP Morgan Chase, shifted $350 billion. What are they at? Like 450? Why does that matter? Well, I'll tell you why it matters. Yes, they are locking in a higher yield, but they are doing the same thing that they did last time. This is easy peasy. And I don't even think that the Federal Reserve, all the presidents and all of the men, it's like Humpty Dumpty. Once he falls off once, this is easy. But Jamie Dimon knows how the system works. Because he's a bank. And he knows he's eliminating liquidity, which then dries up and hello, repo market. So I can show you in the charts. I mean, that's easy. But it's like, well, which came first? And now everyone's running to the Fed's window. And now the banks are selling T-bills to the Fed. Again, all this is just bonds, also known as collateral or liquidity. And when you remove those, they're like, oh, what do we do? So they're calling this thing the QE, reserve management practices or purchases. It's, guys, the QE, QT, it's the same thing. It's bonds and it's arbitrage and it's worth billions. And Jamie knows, hey, let's control this thing and make lots of billions. And the Fed cuts when Jamie tells the Fed to cut. Also, if you ever want to know what the Fed is going to do in regards to cutting, all the banks are doing this whole bond thing. Look at the 2-year yield. The Fed always follows it. I make little trades, I'm like, oh, well, I think it's because it actually still follows this. So you are either going to pop out of this falling wedge and go higher, or you're going to break and go lower. No, that sounds very husbandly, right, ladies? Like, can't he just make a decision? But turning this orange line on, and this is just, they just follow this orange line. This is where they cut. It was already going down. They're like, they feel comfortable. Probably not going to cut any more right now. I actually predicted, I put this line in probably a year ago. I figured they would cut all the way down. And they're like, Jamie Dimon's like, no, you're going to cut again. I say, you go, Jamie, you create that liquidity crisis. And then everyone's going to blame the Fed, maybe Donald Trump or the Treasury. But I mean, no one knows how this works. It's crazy when I'm like, okay, ask anyone this. Where's money come from? This should be very simple, but everyone should know this. Money is only debt. Well, unless we're on a standard like this, unless we have standards. But as you know, the United States of America has no standards. It's 1971. That was it. Everything is just backed by a hope and a prayer and a hell of a lot of debt, which that will forever go up. Can you believe that? And so will asset prices. The government will forever lie to you and tell you they're not, and redact things, right? Also, do you like my Epstein file jacket and shirt? I told you guys aren't going to get anything. I did that yesterday because I got into it. I'm scrolling. I'm like, I'm not finding anything. But imagine if the sheeple did their taxes like that, redacted. I don't know how the people are doing it. Meaning it's the worst in 50 years. Like, it's so bad. And yet they'll tell you it's great. Well, it is for the 1%, 0%. We're crushing it. Also, why don't you be like a bank and buy assets? Or be like the government and be just completely fraud. Look at this. The biggest fraud in welfare, just continue. I mean, what isn't fraud when it comes to the government? Fraud, lies, more fraud. And you have the media breaking the Trump economy is so poor. Correct. Yes. It was a dumpster dive anyways. It was one trajectory. With home sales, consumer sentiment, 50 years. It's so bad. Fox News is in full gaslight mode. So is the Trump administration. The weakness is attractive. Bad news is good news. Like, come on. But again, trade the stuff and home builders. Buy it. I wasn't even going to play it, but I'll play it. Let's listen in.
That's 41 million homes sold on
4.13 million.
4.13 sold on an annualized basis. Yeah. That is not strong at all. That's just not.
Well, I'm going to call that not gaslighting. That is correct. Nothing is strong. Everything is weak. How weak, you ask? We're talking recession. Look, this is total non-farm. See, great recession, great recession, great recession. Where we is at now? We're way down here. This is 2020 crisis levels. And just to let you know, if you currently have a job right now, your employer's being nice. It's Christmas. If you think layoffs are bad now, you just wait. And this is not just in the US, this is in the UK. Actually, it's so bad in the UK, 1 in 8 owners, they're all leaving. Almost 1 million businesses are now actively planning to leave the UK. With all of this noise, go back to what I've been saying for the last 8 years. Trade stocks, buy assets. But bravo, a stock is an asset. Well, depends on when you own it, when you sell it. Do this. This is what I taught my high school students. I used to get in so much heat. I had admin come in, always. We'd be playing Monopoly, and they'd all be around the room playing Monopoly. Why? Because I was training your kids to buy assets. One that wins are the ones that buy houses and then apartments. It has nothing to do. You're going to lose if you just go get a job and collect cash. The people who win Monopoly are the ones with lots of cash? No. Imagine playing Monopoly and never buying an asset or an investment that generates income. Imagine you just went around collecting $200, giving your money to the rich and trying to stay out of jail. Sounds ridiculous. This is how everyone lives their lives. Somehow they accidentally buy a house and then they're like, Barbara, we have equity. Barbara takes out a HELOC and goes blows it on some Louis Vuitton. Or they're like, you know what we'll do? Let's sell our asset. So they sell the asset because they have $250,000. Let's take $250,000. You just triggered a taxable event. Pay half. See, the rich don't think like that. Rich never sell their assets. They buy a house, they buy another one, and then the bank says, hey, you have equity in these three. And you're like, how much? $1 million. Okay, we'll take out a loan, not triggering a taxable event. Still have three. You have renters in there. You buy three more. You put renters in those three, and then I know what you're going to say. Oh my gosh, have you ever? Yes, I have. Do you know how difficult it is? Yes, I do. Do you know what a management company is? Yes, I do. Back in the day, one of my properties actually got turned into a meth lab. Also, be thankful if you currently reside in the United States of America and you can't become a multimillionaire. There's a problem. Imagine living in the UK, right? This is the Monopoly UK edition. That would be go to jail, pass, go to jail, stay in jail, yes. So you have zero excuses except for I'm lazy. So please, 2026, two things. One, you will move a stock, okay? Two, you will buy something and put someone in it. Three, if you don't have the income to do that, start one. In regards to stocks, learn this. What did I draw? You should be able to see things. Like, where is the NASDAQ going? It's either going up or down. Well, I'll tell you, there's kind of a quasi left shoulder, head, right shoulder, neckline. You could be going really high. We're kind of in that triangle stage right here. You break that, we're going up. But that is big picture, and I'll carry it. You don't want to break. What you don't want to break is that. Break that one, you go up here. All-time highs, you break that one, game's over. So there is step 1, 2, and 3 about the NASDAQ. Now, if you're like, well, I want to trade this right now, turn on Bravo Kit. Let's see. Swing up, purple, short. Swing down, purple, long, up, purple, down. It's going to run into the chick magnet, purple. You just swing it. You swing it up. You swing it down. You swing it up. You swing it down. You turn on trend lines. Like, come on. Where is the NASDAQ going to go? Probably up now. You've had this one. This is down. Okay, hit trend line. And the lowest you're going to go is right here. It'll bounce on that one. That's when you get ready to swing it up. And the chick magnet's covering that. Actually, right on it. Good job. Remember, price will it's always being pulled to the chick magnet. So please come trade with me and my student. He's up 2,150. That was last week. Just keep doing trade. Click buttons. How to do it by clicking here. Look, right there. Get access. It's $2.99 until it goes to $3.99. Focus on this stuff. Focus on getting assets, improving your life. Don't get caught up in all this noise. With that, I love you. I'll see you tomorrow.